No,
You was going crazy in that month.
yeah, I went crazy.
I'm not the same person.
New footage just hit the internet, and it's wild. It captures Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane in a moment nobody ever imagined. Everyone could sense there was tension between the OG and his former artist, but this clip just flipped the whole story upside down. Let's break down exactly what went down. Back in mid-January 2026, Gucci Mane got robbed in LA. And it wasn't just a random hit. They took his wedding ring and his icy watch right off him. Multiple sources are now saying the people behind it might have been linked to Pooh Shiesty and his camp. That's when things started getting real messy.
Actually, Gucci Mane was just robbed recently, and they say it was in LA. I know that, I don't know if you got to see the whole Gucci Mane Pooh Shiesty beef that's been going on.
It all began after a private meeting between Gucci and Shiesty out in LA. They were supposedly talking about Shiesty's contract with 1017 Records. Word is, Shiesty wanted out, but Gucci wasn't trying to hear it. The meeting ended, and just minutes later, according to what the streets are saying, a crew of masked guys rolled up on Gucci.
He was just robbed for his wedding ring and his watch. And they say Pooh Shiesty might allegedly have something to do with it, but they're not sure. But apparently him and Pooh Shiesty had a meeting in LA, and the meeting was over Pooh Shiesty trying to get off the 1017 label.
Here's how the whole thing supposedly went down, and it sounds straight out of a movie. He pulled up to that meeting heavy, rolling deep with his crew. The second they sat down, the contract talk turned heated fast. Shiesty allegedly pressed Gucci Mane hard, demanding he sign those release papers right then and there. Under pressure, Gucci finally signs, and within minutes, Shiesty and his people bounce out like nothing happened. But not long after that, boom, another squad shows up, runs straight up on Gucci and takes his wedding ring and that expensive watch. Then they vanish into thin air, gone like ghosts.
Cuz got robbed for his wedding ring and his fucking watch. Losing his shit right the fuck now. I'm not saying what city he got robbed in or nothing like that.
Now, here's where things get wild. The supposed link between Shiesty and the crew that hit Gucci is still just rumors at this point. No footage of the robbery has surfaced, and no police report has been made public. But come on, that timing, way too perfect to ignore. The meeting ends, Shiesty dips, and right after, Gucci gets robbed? The streets aren't buying that as some random coincidence. Then blogger Tasha K jumped in and dropped the most shocking claim yet. She said Gucci Mane was actually kidnapped by Pooh Shiesty and forced at gunpoint to sign a release freeing him from his Death Row Records 2.0 type deal. That reference pointed back to the old school label Suge Knight ran in the 90s. The one famous for its ruthless, allegedly violent business moves back in the day.
Of course, Gucci Mane's like, hell no. And apparently it was like one of those Vanilla Ice Suge Knight situations where Pooh Shiesty pretty much walked in there and was like, yo, look, you're gonna sign this shit. We're gonna make sure you sign this shit.
That Suge Knight comparison hit hard, and for good reason. Back in the early 90s, Suge was infamous for his intimidation tactics when it came to locking down contracts. The most legendary story floating around the streets was that Knight once hung Vanilla Ice over a hotel balcony to make him hand over his royalties. Whether that really happened or just turned into one of those wild hood tales, the legend still lives on today. Now, people are saying the way Pooh Shiesty handled his situation felt a lot like how Suga used to move.
And apparently Shiesty was with some people and they made him sign it over. And then after they left, they say within minutes, a group of alleged some gangbangers rolled in there and relieved Gucci Mane of some jewelry.
The vibe, the pressure, the power plays, it all gave off that same ruthless energy. And let's talk about what got taken, because this wasn't some small-time robbery. That wedding ring, worth over $200,000 easy. The watch, a Patek Philippe, priced around $300,000 or more. Some insiders even claimed the total haul, counting jewelry, cash, and other valuables, could have hit between $2 to $3 million. That's a major hit. What's crazy is Gucci wasn't even solo when it happened. He rolled up with his own security, real professionals, not amateurs. But the people who ran down on them came loaded and ready. Outgunned and caught off guard, Gucci's team didn't stand a chance. And here's the wildest part. The robbery never got officially reported to the police. No paperwork, no public records, no warrants for Shiesty or anyone else. It's like the whole thing vanished into thin air. The story exploded across blogs, social media, and every hip-hop news outlet you can name. It was still technically unconfirmed, but the details were way too specific for people to just brush off. The ring, the watch, the timing right after the meeting, the armed crew, and that rumored connection to Shiesty's contract drama. It all lined up too perfectly. Still, not everyone was buying it. The internet lit up with debate. with comments swinging from total doubt to full belief. One person even wrote, "Ain't no way no Crips just robbed Gucci Mane." The message behind it was clear. Guwap's too connected, too respected, too locked in with the streets for anyone to just run up on him like that. But then others clapped back saying respect and street ties don't mean much when someone's got a gun in your face. No matter what side people took, the story symbolized something way bigger: the total breakdown between Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty. Just a year earlier, Gucci had been publicly showing love for Shiesty, even speaking up about his release from federal custody. He was backing him heavy, but now, multiple insiders were saying Shiesty might have had a hand, directly or indirectly, in setting up that robbery. The switch-up was wild. Before everything went downhill, their relationship had been built on mentorship, opportunity, and loyalty. Gucci didn't just sign Pooh Shiesty to 1017 Records, he believed in him. He pushed his music hard, put him in front of major audiences, and branded him as the future face of the label during a crucial moment in both their careers. To really understand the damage this situation caused, you have to look at what was lost: a bond that started with trust and ambition. Pooh Shiesty, whose real name is Lontrell Donnell Williams Jr., went from being Gucci's prized protege to being at the center of one of the messiest hip-hop fallouts in years. Pooh Shiesty came straight out of Memphis, Tennessee, bringing a sound that mixed that gritty Memphis crank with the slick trap vibe Gucci Mane had been perfecting since the mid-2000s. When Gucci signed him to 1017 Records in 2020, it was a bold move. He was taking a chance on a young artist with raw street energy and fire lyrics, but no chart success yet. No mainstream traction, no massive fan base, just pure potential and street-certified credibility. That gamble turned out to be golden. Shiesty blew up almost overnight when his single Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk dropped. That record went absolutely insane. It went multi-platinum, stamped his name in the game, and proved he was one of the coldest new voices coming out. His debut tape, Shiesty Season, didn't just do numbers. It got love from critics too. Soon, you couldn't scroll through social media without hearing that signature blurred ad-lib echoing everywhere. Shiesty wasn't just part of 1017, he was 1017, the face of the label's next era, the one meant to carry Gucci's legendary trap legacy into the new generation. When Shiesty Season dropped and the sales came back strong, Gucci made sure to show major love. He gifted Shiesty a slime green Jeep Trackhawk, not just any ride, but a full-on statement piece. That green wasn't random either. It was 1017's trademark color, symbolizing unity, loyalty, and the family bond within the label. The car wasn't just a gift, it was Gucci saying, "You're part of this legacy for real." The moment got caught on camera and posted everywhere, flooding the internet. Proof of how tight their bond once was before everything started to unravel. That whole moment helped cement Gucci Mane's image as a real boss, the kind who genuinely looks out for his people. His connection with Pooh Shiesty went way beyond business. It was built on shared struggle, growth, and redemption. Gucci had already lived through the chaos, the streets, the time behind bars, the battles with addiction, and somehow came out stronger, transforming himself into a respected mogul in hip-hop. He wasn't just signing artists, he was mentoring them, guiding the next generation through the same traps that once nearly ended him. And Shiesty, he was the perfect student for that mentorship. Young, gifted, hungry, and tapped into the streets in a way that made his music hit different. That raw, authentic energy couldn't be faked, and Gucci saw that from day one. But then, everything took a dark turn in 2020 when the feds came knocking. Pooh Shiesty caught a serious case down in Miami, one that threw his whole career off track. Reports said it all went down during a deal at a hotel that spiraled out of control, with guns allegedly involved and someone getting hit in a robbery gone wrong. The system moved slow, but it moved with purpose. By 2021, Shiesty was officially behind bars on federal gun and robbery charges. And just like that, his sky-high run came to a grinding halt. Even then, Gucci Mane stood tall for him. He didn't cut ties, didn't ghost him, and didn't flip when things got messy. Instead, he stayed loyal, publicly speaking up in 2022, calling for better prison conditions and showing the world that loyalty still means something in this game. Gucci didn't just talk the talk, he really stepped up for Pooh Shiesty while he was locked up. He went public, saying Shiesty was being mistreated in federal custody, stuck in long lockdowns, eating terrible food, and basically being left to rot. Gucci used his voice and platform to call out what was happening, putting a spotlight on how unfair the conditions were. And here's what made that move powerful. Gucci didn't have to do any of that. There was no legal or financial reason for him to speak up. Shiesty wasn't bringing in money while sitting in that cell, and yet Gucci still rode for him. That spoke volumes about their bond. It wasn't just artist and label, it was mentor and student, big bro and lil bro, built on loyalty that went deeper than business. Shiesty ended up serving over 4 long years, from 2021 all the way into late 2025. During that time, the rap game didn't slow down for anybody. New artists popped up, sounds changed, and trends shifted fast. The wave that Back in Blood created eventually faded as other songs took over the charts. Shiesty's absence left a huge hole in the trap scene, and a bunch of new rappers rushed to fill that space. But even with all that going on, the public relationship between Gucci and Shiesty stayed rock solid. No messy online beef, no cryptic posts, no public shots thrown. Gucci would still mention him in interviews, talking about his respect for Shiesty and his belief that the kid would bounce back stronger than ever once he got out. The whole story painted a picture of loyalty and patience, a label boss who stood firm for his artist during the darkest years of his life, keeping that brotherhood alive when most people would have moved on. When Pooh Shiesty finally came home in October 2025, it looked like a celebration waiting to happen. Gucci Mane wasted no time posting on social media, writing, "Time to shake the streets up. WAP proud of you." Using WAP, his own nickname, made it sound real personal, a message straight from the heart, showing love and genuine pride for his artist's return to freedom. Everything seemed ready for a massive comeback. Shiesty back in the game, 1017 records ready to push him again, and Gucci standing right beside him like before. But beneath that picture-perfect moment, something was off. During those 4 long years, cracks had started to form. Cracks the public couldn't see yet. The same tension that later exploded into robbery rumors and contract beef in early 2026 had actually been brewing for months, maybe even years. Then came the first red flag. That welcoming post from Gucci, it mysteriously disappeared not long after it went up. Fans noticed quick, and social media went wild with speculation. Why would Gucci post such a proud message, then delete it like nothing ever happened? People started guessing. Maybe a conversation went down between them that turned sour. Or maybe Gucci learned something that made him second-guess that public show of support. Whatever it was, it clearly shifted the vibe. Some insiders started whispering that the tension had less to do with contracts or music and more to do with something deeper, something emotional. And that's where the story takes a dark turn, straight to the Big Scar situation, the event that changed everything inside 1017 Records. The fallout between Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty didn't just pop up overnight. It was rooted in loss, loyalty, and questions about respect. The death of Big Scar, a rising star under 1017, shook the label to its core and exposed major differences in how Gucci and Shiesty saw family, responsibility, and what it really means to ride for your people when tragedy strikes. Big Scar's death became the breaking point, the wound that would eventually rip Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty's relationship apart for good, setting the stage for the chaos that reportedly went down in January 2026. Big Scar, born Alexander Woods, was a Memphis rapper signed to 1017 Records who had carved out his own lane and earned real respect on the label. His music carried that raw, unfiltered Memphis street sound, the kind that can't be faked, and his connection to the 1017 family ran much deeper than just contracts or business. What made this hit even harder was that Big Scar wasn't just another artist. He was family. He and Pooh Shiesty were cousins, both coming up together in the same Memphis neighborhoods, living that same grind that later fueled their lyrics. Their bond was real, built long before either of them had a deal, fame, or money on the table.
He's from Memphis. He's actually Pooh Shiesty's little cousin. So him and Pooh Shiesty came up together. When Big Scar died, Gucci was supposed to pay for the funeral, which they said that he didn't.
Then tragedy struck. Big Scar passed away from an overdose, a loss that shattered everyone around him. The pain ran deep, but what came after made things even worse. Questions started flying about who was supposed to step up and what responsibilities fell on who. As the label head, Gucci Mane was expected to handle certain things, like taking care of arrangements and making sure Scar's legacy was respected. But as Scar's blood cousin, Pooh Shiesty had his own expectations about how things should have been handled. That's where things got tense, where business duties and personal grief collided, turning heartbreak into hostility. Those differences planted the first seeds of resentment, and once that line was crossed, there was no going back. The loyalty they once had started to crack wide open, The heart of the drama came down to one thing: Big Scar's funeral expenses. According to multiple insiders, Gucci Mane was expected to cover the full cost of the service. That expectation wasn't out of pocket either. Label heads often take care of funeral costs for their artists, especially when the relationship is more like family than business. And 1017 Records, that label was built on loyalty, brotherhood, and family ties. But after Big Scar's passing, those same values started getting put to the ultimate test. Word started spreading fast across social media and hip-hop blogs that Gucci Mane didn't pay for the funeral. And that rumor hit hard. Suddenly, people were calling him out, saying Guwap turned his back on one of his own during the family's darkest hour. The optics were rough. A millionaire label boss allegedly refusing to pay final respects for a young artist who died under his watch. And worse, who was the cousin of his biggest star, Pooh Shiesty.
Then his wife posted receipts that he did pay for the funeral, but he also then asked for the chains back.
That narrative made Gucci look cold, and fans were quick to run with it. But the truth, as it turned out, was way more complicated. Gucci's wife, Keisha Kawir, stepped in and shut everything down by posting receipts, actual proof that they did pay for Big Scar's funeral. She showed documentation of the payments, making it clear Gucci handled his responsibilities like a man. From a financial standpoint, the situation was handled. Gucci Mane did right by his artist, but just because the money issue got cleared up didn't mean the bad blood disappeared. The damage to trust, perception, and loyalty had already been done. And what came next showed that this wasn't just about dollars, but deep emotions and pride that money couldn't fix. What happened next flipped a simple misunderstanding into a full-blown fallout that couldn't be repaired. According to multiple insiders, Gucci Mane reached out and asked for Big Scar's chains to be returned. These weren't just random pieces of jewelry. They were 4 custom 1017 chains that Gucci had personally gifted Scar during his rise on the label. Now, to really understand why this move caused so much chaos, you've got to look at it through the lens of hip-hop culture. Heavy jewelry and rap isn't just about flexing wealth, it's a symbol of rank, loyalty, and respect. When a label boss gives an artist a chain, it's not just a gift, it's a badge of honor, proof that you've made it and that you're part of something bigger. Those chains represent acceptance into a legacy, trophies of achievement that money can't buy. So when Gucci handed Scar those 4 chains, he was doing more than blessing him with ice. He was officially saying, "You're family now." That gesture carried deep meaning. But after Big Scar's passing, Gucci asking for the chains back hit totally different. To the family, it felt cold. Like all that family talk was just business talk after all. That request sent a painful message that the jewelry wasn't about earned status or brotherhood, but just label property that could be taken back once the artist was gone.
That turned into a whole online beef, a whole online orchestra, and Shiesty, I guess, just wasn't really feeling the way he went about it.
For Big Scar's loved ones, that move wasn't just about metal and diamonds. It was about respect. In their eyes, it looked like 1017's loyalty had limits, and that realization cracked open wounds that would never fully heal. Pooh Shiesty's reaction to how Gucci Mane handled his cousin Big Scar's death ended up being the spark that lit the fuse for everything that came after. When Scar passed, Shiesty was still locked up, unable to attend the funeral or be there for his family. All he could do was rely on whatever information made its way to him, through prison calls, letters, and word of mouth. But as those reports came in, every new detail, whether it was real or twisted by gossip, started shaping how he saw Gucci. From behind bars, Shiesty began to feel like the man he once called a mentor wasn't showing the loyalty he expected. And once those emotions kicked in, things got messy. Real messy. The tension spilled out of private conversations and straight into the public eye. Comments were posted, captions were read between the lines, and screenshots started flying all over social media. What should have stayed a private misunderstanding between a label boss and his artist quickly turned into blog fodder and clickbait headlines. Each time one side spoke, the other side clapped back, and the distance between them grew wider. Pride entered the picture. Egos got involved, and soon neither Gucci nor Shiesty could step back without looking weak. That's when the focus shifted to the business side, the contract and what Shiesty reportedly started calling his escape plan. From day one, the deal between him and 1017 had its built-in pressure points. Like many artists in the industry, Shiesty had traded flexibility for exposure. It made sense at the start, but once fame and success kicked in, those same terms started feeling like a cage. By then, trust was gone, Emotions were high, and that bond built on loyalty and mentorship was now hanging by a thread, setting the stage for the chaos that would erupt in 2026. When Pooh Shiesty signed with 1017 Records back in 2020, he was still a wild card. Talented, respected in the streets, but unproven in the industry. He had bars, presence, and that raw Memphis energy, but no fan base yet, no track record, no guaranteed money flow. From Gucci Mane's perspective, bringing Shiesty on board was a serious gamble. He had to front advances, pay for studio time, cover marketing, and lock in distribution, all based on faith that this young rapper would hit big and make that investment worth it. Now, deals like that always lean heavy toward the label. That's just how the game's set up. When an artist's still coming up, the label takes the financial risk, and in return, they lock in the rights and most of the profits. It's a system built to protect the label's money. And for new artists hungry to get their shot, it feels like a fair trade at first. But once success hits, everything changes. When Back in Blood blew up and Shiesty season smashed expectations, the same contract that once felt like a blessing started feeling like a cage. Shiesty was pulling serious numbers, streaming millions, moving merch, and building a brand. But the money coming in didn't match the success going out. That's the harsh truth of the business. The label gets paid first, recoups every dime they spent, and only then does the artist see their real cut. So even while Shiesty was one of the hottest names in the game, he was watching most of that revenue flow right back into 1017's pocket. What started as a dream deal suddenly looked like a trap. And for Shiesty, that realization hit hard. He was generating massive value, but the checks weren't adding up, and that frustration started fueling the fire that would eventually burn down everything between him and Gucci Mane. This kind of situation has wrecked countless artist-label relationships all through hip-hop history. What makes it even crazier is that Gucci Mane himself had once been on the other side of the same struggle. Back in his early grind, Gucci went through his own frustrations with record deals, putting in work, making hits, and watching the money pile up for everyone except him. He knew exactly how it felt to be bound by contracts signed when times were lean. But when the tables turned, when Gucci became the boss instead of the artist, things changed. The same type of rigid contracts he once despised, he now enforced with that same tough energy. It was a full circle moment, but not in the way most people expected. Watching him hold firm on those same business terms that used to frustrate him felt wild to anyone who knew his story. Then add in another layer, Shiesty's prison stretch from 2021 to 2025, and everything got way more complicated. While he was locked up, he couldn't record new tracks, couldn't tour, couldn't do features, couldn't make money off the hype he built, but his 1017 contract still stayed active. The label clock didn't stop ticking just because he was behind bars. Depending on the fine print, that meant when Shiesty finally came home, he might still owe 1017 multiple albums or obligations, basically stuck in a deal he hadn't been able to benefit from for 4 years. So when he finally got his freedom back and started speaking out, his frustration made perfect sense. He began hinting online about blocked music, label betrayal, and projects being held back, claiming 1017 wasn't letting him release anything. Whether it was straight-up contract enforcement or a power move by the label to keep control over an unhappy artist, the result was the same. Shiesty couldn't move. His career was frozen while still being chained to the very label he once saw as family. Things took an even wilder turn once rival labels started circling around Pooh Shiesty. The biggest name in the mix? Yo Gotti's CMG, a powerhouse label straight out of Memphis, Shiesty's own backyard. Yo Gotti wasn't just another rapper with a label. He was a full-on mogul, respected in business, and capable of going toe-to-toe with any major in the game. For Shiesty, the idea of linking with CMG meant more than just a new deal. It meant coming home in every sense: hometown roots, Memphis culture, and a fresh professional chapter.
But they're also saying that Shiesty's trying to sign a Yo Gotti. There's a $10 million deal that's already been sitting.
Word on the streets was that CMG had a $10 million offer lined up for Shiesty. Serious money that could change everything. But there was one problem. He couldn't take it. Not while still locked in under 1017 Records. Gucci Mane still controlled the paperwork, the rights, and basically the keys to his next move. And Gucci? He wasn't about to just hand over his biggest investment to a rival label, no matter how close to home that offer hit. From a business angle, it made perfect sense. Gucci had poured time and money into building Shiesty's career, and losing him to the competition would have been a major blow. But when you're the artist stuck waiting for your shot, business starts feeling personal real fast. Adding another twist, Gucci and Yo Gotti already had a complicated history. They weren't outright enemies, but their circles overlapped in ways that always carried tension. Gucci had even claimed before that his signing of Shiesty was partly to keep him clear of the long-running beef between Yo Gotti and Young Dolph, a Memphis feud that had already cost lives and broken alliances. Back then, Gucci's reasoning made sense. He wanted to keep his young artists safe from the street politics. But now, with Young Dolph gone and the war in Memphis cooled off, that protective excuse didn't hold weight anymore. This time, it wasn't about safety. It was about control, power, and money. And that's when loyalty turned into leverage. By this point, Gucci Mane's refusal to let Pooh Shiesty out of his contract looked less like mentorship and more like straight-up business. It wasn't about loyalty or guidance anymore. It was about protecting a valuable asset, even if that asset was desperate for freedom. Gucci had invested heavily in Shiesty, and from a label boss's perspective, letting him walk to another team, especially a rival like CMG, made zero sense. But from Shiesty's side, it felt like being trapped in a deal that no longer served him. So, when the two finally met face-to-face in Los Angeles, it was supposed to be the moment where they talked it all out and found a way forward. That meeting, according to insiders, turned tense fast. Shiesty came in wanting one thing: his release papers. Gucci wasn't having it. The discussion got heated, and when it came time to make a decision, Gucci reportedly said flat out hell no to cutting him loose. From there, everything froze. A total stalemate. Neither man was backing down. And that's when, according to the streets, things took a dark and dangerous turn. If Gucci wouldn't sign that release willingly, Shiesty and his crew were allegedly ready to make him sign it. That's where those wild comparisons to Suge Knight started flying around. Sources said the whole thing played out like something straight from the 90s, when label disputes didn't end with lawyers, but with real pressure. The alleged incident wasn't just about money, it was about power, respect, and who really ran the game. Since then, the aftermath has been pure chaos, with the main players going silent while the internet's been on fire. Gucci hasn't publicly confirmed that the robbery ever happened, but his actions, especially the deleted welcome home post about Shiesty, spoke volumes. Something major clearly went down, and whatever it was, it changed everything between the mentor and his former protege forever. Gucci Mane hasn't come out and spoken directly about the alleged robbery, but he has been moving in ways that tell their own story. Through social media posts, subtle messages, and his team's reactions, people have described what's happening as a full-blown loyalty war online. It's not open warfare, but it's definitely tension. People picking sides, fans dissecting every post, every lyric, every emoji. On the flip side, Pooh Shiesty's been just as calculated with his silence. He hasn't flat out denied being involved in the alleged setup, but he hasn't confirmed it either. Instead, he's been using his platform to air out his frustrations, talking about blocked music, label betrayal, and how 1017 supposedly froze his moves after he got out of prison. He's painting a picture of being pushed to the edge, of being silenced and boxed in, without ever admitting to taking things to that next level. It's a slick move legally, because it lets him express his anger without incriminating himself. Meanwhile, the legal situation is still murky. No official police reports have hit the public, and no arrests have been made tied to the alleged robbery. That silence leaves everything up in the air. Did the robbery not go down like the rumors claim? Did Gucci choose to keep it out of the system to avoid the headlines? Or is there a quiet investigation happening behind the scenes? Each scenario tells a completely different story, and nobody outside their circles really knows which one's true. Then came one of the wildest rumors of all. Word spread that Keisha Kawar, Gucci's wife, allegedly contacted Shiesty's parole officer to report a kidnapping. If that actually happened, it would have been a major escalation. Considering Shiesty was still under federal supervision, even the suggestion of being tied to a kidnapping or robbery could wreck his freedom instantly. So far, none of that's been officially confirmed, but the very fact that it's being talked about shows how deep this situation's gotten. Loyalty, business, and freedom all tangled up in one dangerous mix. So far, that wild claim about Gucci's wife reporting Pooh Shiesty to his parole officer hasn't been verified. And the fact that Shiesty hasn't been taken back into custody says a lot. It either means the report was never filed, the authorities didn't find enough evidence to act on it, or maybe there's still an investigation quietly moving behind the scenes.
I just had that conversation with somebody. I think that nigga would be in jail right the now, honestly. I think that nigga would be in jail right the now. just because of the timing.
Whatever the case, the silence has everybody guessing. One of Shiesty's close homies even pointed out something that got folks talking. The timing just doesn't add up. If Shiesty really had a hand in something as serious as a robbery or kidnapping, especially while on parole, he'd almost definitely be sitting back in federal custody by now. The fact that he's still free suggests one of three things. Either the story's been blown out of proportion, he played his cards smart enough to keep distance and deniability, or no official report ever hit the system. Right now, both the streets and the feds are watching closely, but neither has made a clear move yet. And that's where things get even deeper. Rumors started swirling that Memphis affiliates, specifically members of the Rollin' 60s Crips, might have been involved in the alleged robbery. If that's true, then this wasn't just Pooh Shiesty and a few close friends pressing Gucci. It might have included street-connected individuals with their own motives and agendas. That gang connection would completely change the scope of the situation, taking it way beyond just music business or a label dispute. It turns what started as a messy contract disagreement into something far more dangerous, with potential ties to street politics, power moves, and territory influence. Whatever really went down that night, it's clear this story isn't just about money anymore. It's about survival, respect, and control in two worlds that are now colliding. Things took an even darker twist when reports surfaced that Hernandez Govan, identified as the father of Young Dolph's accused killer, was publicly taunting Gucci Mane on social media after the alleged robbery. That move shocked fans and instantly tied the whole situation to the wider web of Memphis street violence that's taken multiple lives and left scars all through the city's rap scene. If Govan's involvement was real, it meant what happened to Gucci wasn't just a personal dispute or a label issue. It might have been part of a much bigger, deeper cycle of retaliation and street politics. These aren't random moments. They're connected threads in a long, dangerous history that blurs the line between the music industry and real-life beef. And that's what makes the whole thing so heavy, because it forces people to look at the mythology behind labels, like 1017 Records. On the surface, 1017 was built on loyalty, brotherhood, and mentorship. Gucci Mane was the big boss, the mentor, the protector, the man who took his people from the trenches to the charts. The artists were supposed to be family, bound together by loyalty and shared success that lifted everyone. That image sold records, built fan bases, and inspired loyalty inside and outside the label. It made fans believe they were watching something real, a movement built on unity and love, not just money. But behind that powerful narrative, there's always been a harsh truth. Labels run on business, not blood. The family talk sounds good, but the contracts tell the real story. And once the money starts moving, the same bonds that looked unbreakable can start to look like chains. What was sold as loyalty can start feeling like control. And we all eat together can quietly turn into the label eats first. This whole mess with Gucci, Shiesty, and 1017 peeled back that layer, showing how easily that family image can crumble when the business side stops lining up with the brotherhood people thought they had. Once artists start to see how the business really works, conflict almost becomes part of the deal. It's built right into the system. And in Gucci Mane's case, that tension hit extra hard. His rise from artist to label boss created the perfect storm of irony. He'd once been the young talent trapped by contracts, fighting for control of his own art. He knew exactly what it felt like to be on the short end of a label deal, underpaid, overlooked, and overworked. After prison, Gucci's whole public image was built around redemption, growth, and doing right by his people. He talked about elevating others, giving artists a real shot, and being the kind of mentor he wished he'd had back in the day. But the allegations that he demanded Big Scar's chains back, that he blocked Pooh Shiesty's releases, and refused to let him walk free from his contract, hit directly at that image. If those claims hold any truth, they completely clash with the message of second chances and loyalty that Gucci's been preaching since his comeback. On the flip side, Shiesty's transformation story was full of contradictions too. After spending years behind bars, he came home talking about change, about leaving the dumb stuff behind, and focusing on real success this time around.
Do you remember the moment where the breakthrough came, where you said, when I get out, I'm done with all this dumb shit? Was it a moment where you was going through it so much, or you got a revelation where you just like, this ain't it, man. I ain't with this shit.
The alarm clock came on,
Yeah,
man.
alarm clock.
I been knew that shit wasn't what's up, though. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't for that, man. I'm a free world type of nigga like that, you know? Ride fast car, count money, put that shit on, you know?
In interviews, he sounded focused and mature, a man who'd learned from his mistakes and wanted to do things right. But then came the allegations, the whispers that he'd been involved in a robbery, that he'd allegedly forced Gucci to sign papers at gunpoint. That's where the irony gets wild. His words and his rumored actions painted two totally different pictures, one of redemption and one of revenge. That gap between who Shiesty said he wanted to be and what he was accused of doing reflects something much bigger than just him. It shows the same contradiction that runs deep in hip-hop culture, where artists try to rise above the streets but can never fully escape the shadows that built them. The rap game demands authenticity, but that same authenticity often clashes hard with the dream of going legit. The same street code that gives artists their edge can end up pulling them back into chaos. And for Gucci Mane, that contradiction hit center stage. His words about personal transformation, about peace, growth, and positivity sound completely different now after everything that's unfolded. He had gone on record many times saying he was a changed man, no longer the same Gucci who thrived off violence and street drama. He spoke about becoming an optimist, someone who could see good in stuff, a man focused on success, not beef.
Walk in there.
Yeah, he ain't know.
But do you feel as if though you're a totally different person?
I do. I feel like I done grown and matured. Like the person I was at 10 years ago, I'm not the same person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like person I used to be, I'm nowhere near that. Like I'm way more mature, I'm way nicer.
But now, according to reports, that same man was allegedly robbed at gunpoint by the very artist he mentored and helped rise to fame. Whether Gucci's transformation was fully real or partly performance, this situation pushed it to the ultimate test. How does a man who says he's left the streets behind react when the streets come straight for him? How does optimism hold up when betrayal cuts this deep? Those are the questions that don't have easy answers, and that's exactly why this story hits so hard. The hip-hop community has been split down the middle, some siding with Gucci as the loyal mentor done dirty, others saying Shiesty had real grievances that drove him to extremes. But the truth probably lives somewhere in between. Gucci may have been both, a mentor and a businessman protecting his empire, and Shiesty might have had valid reasons to be frustrated, even if his alleged way of handling it crossed serious lines. This whole saga isn't just about contracts or money, it's about loyalty, pride, and how fast family can turn into opposition when trust breaks down. So what do you think really went down between Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and join the conversation. This story's far from over.